It's 4:20 somewhere, and right now that somewhere is right here. Hello, I'm Janae Burris.
And I'm Jake Brown. Welcome to the Cannabist Show. We talk all things weed. How are you, Janae?
Good.
Yeah.
How are you? How you doing?
You said that like you weren't sure. Okay. Am I good?
Good.
I survived Portland. That's how I feel.
How was the weather, first of all?
It's
important to me.
It was inverted. It was so I came back to all the rain here, and Portland was like desert dry and super hot. I also found some really good weed while I was there. I was really excited. I I got all my weed back, and then it immediately went into the laundry. So now I have
ouch.
2.5 grams.
I thought you were going to say you left it somewhere, and I would think somebody found it and smoked. You put it in the washer?
I almost got some. There's like this older couple that was clearly having like the TSA panic because they realized that they had these jars, and I was like, "You could just give them to me," and then they were like, "Nope," and threw them away. I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna dig.
That's not cool, man. That's not cool. That shouldn't be happening. If this young man wants to take the risk, let him. Okay? Don't be like that.
I'm just gonna be the receptacle now at the airport. Like, if you have extra,
right here.
It's funny too because now they're seeing all of the guys and gals that work at the rental car places are scoring a bunch of free weed that way because people freak out before they get to the airport and they're like, dump it all there. So now Portland also, they have like a problem with homelessness that is now extended to rental car lots.
Oh my gosh, so people are digging through the trash. Quit throwing it in the trash. Just like leave it like at the door of a church. I don't know. Where can you abandon your weed?
Yeah, I was about to say like it's like a fire department baby.
Yeah, just abandon it like a baby.
Just abandon it.
Just leave it there for somebody else to take care of.
Somebody will.
Your baby will be smoked.
Absolutely.
Please.
Now it's time for the Week in Weed and our top story of the week. If you're the leader of a legal cannabis state, the last pen pal you want these days is Attorney General Jeff Sessions. In a recent letter to Oregon Governor Kate Brown, Sessions included a laundry list of issues with their state cannabis program that could be seen as the first step in making his case for federal intervention. Citing a report from the Oregon State Police, the Attorney General highlighted black market trafficking, out-of-state diversion, underage use, lack of education on driving high, and explosions from concentrate extractions gone wrong.
What?
It's a real thing. Now, it's hard for me to believe that he picked these points just out of thin air, as many of them are enforcement priorities laid out in the 2013 Cole Memo. Now, if you don't remember the Cole Memo, think about it like a list of chores for states, but instead of making sure your room is clean, it's preventing drug driving or cannabis moving out of your state. What happens if you're not up on your weed chores? According to the Cole Memo, quote, if state enforcement efforts are not sufficiently robust to protect against the harm set forth above, the federal government may seek to challenge the regulatory structure itself, in addition to continuing to bring individual enforcement actions, including criminal prosecutions focused on those harms. Basically, they have a list of things that states need to do. And if you don't do those, you also get a pointed letter from the Attorney General. It's important to note that he sent similar letters to governors in Alaska, Colorado, and Washington State after they asked him to, quote, engage with us before embarking on any changes to regulatory and enforcement systems, unquote. And they mentioned the Cole Memo by name 5 different times in their letter. So Sessions comes back and says, listen, you aren't even Cole Memoing, guys, so stay tuned for more important updates on this constantly evolving story.
Oh, man. I love, like, the idea that Jeff Sessions is, like, trying to communicate. They're like, communicate with his Jeff.
And he just sasses right back at him. He's like, you guys, the Cole Memo is so important to you. What about X, Y, and Z? And his list just reads like a laundry list of like, okay, these are the things that we as a federal government want to focus on enforcing. And they're like, well, we're trying.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All right. Gosh, okay. Hi. I'll bet when Pastor Sean Burkbile of Abbottstown, come on, how would you say it? Burkbeely.
In a way that doesn't sound like weird vomit.
Burkbile. You should change that. Pastor Sean Burkbile of Abbottstown, Pennsylvania, first donned his robe and white collar. He thought he'd never do anything cool again. He thought that. But when he decided to be an advocate for the health and well-being of one of his young parishioners, he somehow created one of the coolest titles a man with a cloth could wear. Pastor Sean, aka Pennsylvania's pastor for pot, has spent the last 3 years educating himself about the benefits of medical marijuana, increasing his understanding of laws and regulations regarding cannabis, and opening the minds of his extremely conservative community to the blessings of this medicine. You're probably looking at your phone right now and thinking, Janae, I don't want to be a clergy member, but I'd like to work weed into my job title somehow. Well, friend, I'm happy to help. Your new title is but an alliteration away. Got a great city job in waste management? You are now garbage guys for grass. How about that? Are you a dentist specializing in root canals? Your new title, endodontist for endo. All right, but Janae, I'm an insomniac and don't have a job. You sound like an insomniac for Indica. All right, only working seasonally, Santa's for Sativa. Died in a Chicago fire a century ago? How about Ganja Ghost? Comedian and wannabe journalist, Cannabist Show co-host. But that one's taken already. You see, Mr. Trump, Mr. President, I'm stimulating the job market too. You're welcome.
Awesome. Surf Bros rejoice. After 17 years, Hawaii is finally saying aloha to its very first dispensary. Maui Grown Therapies made its first sale on Tuesday, August 8th, after delays at the state certifying lab testing had prevented finished product from being sold. This was a story we told you about before, but at $20 a gram, it's not cheap, but it's Hawaii, so everything costs a little bit more, even your dank. Now, this is a medical marijuana program, so tourists won't be able to go finish a poke bowl, then smoke a bowl, but you do not need to be a Hawaiian resident to qualify for the program. And under Act 241, the state is required to have a process for patients in other states to buy and possess while they're there. So if you're a Colorado patient, an Oregon patient, wherever you're a patient, go there. You can ostensibly purchase things very soon. With all the great strains that have come from the islands over the years, I can't wait to get out there and see what they're growing. Save me some, okay, Hawaii?
Save me some. That's going to be my catchphrase. Save me some. A 71-year-old California man was robbed of his retirement when he was arrested in North Dakota for transporting 183 pounds of marijuana. I assume that was his retirement, okay? What else? Harold Miller was charged with possession and intent to deliver after he was pulled over for traffic violations in a construction zone, and troopers smelled a strong marijuana odor. Harold, you should have told the cops that the smell was just your new aluminum-free deodorant failing, like me. I'd like to thank my sister for my new all-natural bergamot and lime sweat-inducing underarm wax. Thank
sweet
you.
Sweat.
Sweet sweat. Jake, if you'd like to thank my sister for the earthy smell I'm bringing to the desk today, you may.
Thank you.
You should have just invested your retirement money in a Ponzi scheme, Harold. Your money would be just as gone, but at least you wouldn't be in a North Dakota jail, dude. Come on.
How do you have nearly 200 pounds and you're like, this construction zone? Screw it, I'm going for it.
I'm just going to blast through here real fast. Gun it and get through here.
Oh, poor Harold.
Come on. Harold, you made it all the way from California
to
North Dakota, and then you just like blew it? What happened?
Think that was probably North Dakota stash for like the year.
Yes.
They sent him out for the 30-pack for the party, and he's almost back, and then
almost. He was so close, man. No.
Oh.
Was that his destination, North Dakota? Do they need his weed from California?
So there was another story that the Cannabist ran this week that says that 80% of the cannabis that's grown in California leaves the state. That they have about a 2.5 billion consumption market there. They're estimating that about 11 to 12 billion, I want to say, is actually produced. So
was that this week?
Yeah.
In this week's Cannabis? All right, there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, for more on this and all of these stories in the Week in Weed, visit us online at thecannabis.co. Now let's learn how to clean that bong.
Clean that brong.
The brong. Let's clean that bong that you probably just hit. Because let's face it, Mr. Water Pipe, it's probably past due. Vince didn't let it slip how difficult his life was having to get his bong dirty enough to shoot that video. The sacrifices a good EP makes for their show. Our first guest this week brings pharmaceutical expertise to cannabis products. Please welcome to the show, Doc Colagiovanni. Colagiovanni.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was good.
Welcome to the set.
Said it with confidence.
He tried.
I was like, that doesn't sound right, but it sounds good.
Right, it sounded confident and wrong.
Confident wrong.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Thanks.
I think that one of the things that is a huge misconception in the cannabis industry is that big pharma is coming for us, and that taking a pharmaceutical approach to what is medicine for so many people is going to kind of ruin people's experience with the plant. But what Next Frontier has been approaching is really interesting to me. Can you talk a little bit about kind of where you started, I guess?
Yeah, so I personally started in biotech about 20 years ago.
Okay.
And so I've worked for a number of biotech companies in Colorado, working on different diseases like cystic fibrosis and oncology and anti-infectives. And about a year and a half ago, I really kind of burned out on it. It just got to the point where I felt we weren't able to bring medicines effectively to patients anymore. It was taking a long time with FDA regulations, and a lot of the hedge fund, VC kind of influencers were coming into it. And so I was approached about getting into a medical cannabis company, and Next Frontier was born from that.
Okay.
And so we started in Denver, and our objective is really to bring a scientific approach that we would have in pharma to cannabis.
Okay, so what does that mean kind of at the base?
So that means when we approach looking at cannabis, we would look at it as a medicine, and we would prepare it in a way that's safe, effective, reliable, and precise. So we're using, in addition to child-resistant packaging, our packaging is also almost pharma grade, if you'll say. So we have the ability to provide really accurate dosing, and we can give microdosing, which we think is really important for a lot of individuals that aren't used to cannabis and want to come into it and experience it without the heavy high. And so this way they can put a toe in, see what it's like, experience it, and then go from there.
So for somebody, because I know a lot of people that say, hey, I'd like to try cannabis as a medicine, I'm worried about the side effects. And they have side effects that are, that are a result of the current medications they're on, and they're like, yeah, I don't want the head high. Can microdosing be a nice little kind of entree into using cannabis as medicine? And
Absolutely.
do you start to notice that those side effects dissipate a little?
Yeah, so I think it's a function of, are you using drugs in combination?
Okay.
So first of all, many patients, say you're on a drug for anxiety and you're on another drug for depression. So you might be able to replace those drugs with cannabis, which is one of the benefits, because it can help with insomnia, depression, anxiety, pain, as we know. So you can reduce the number of meds you're on. But let's say you have to stay on meds because of your condition. Say it's something like a heart condition. Then we have to think about drug-drug interactions and things that are problematic when you're using cannabis, because those are a reality and something that we think about when we're preparing stuff.
So when you say kind of that people can use cannabis for anxiety and depression, those are also two of the biggest things that I hear are withdrawal symptoms, that people stop using cannabis and they find that they're anxious, they're depressed, they can't sleep. So where do those two kind of meet?
So I think the root of that is the endocannabinoid system, and understanding how that system functions for homeostasis in your body. It helps regulate those systems so that you do sleep well, that you do have that runner's high. Things that are involved with your well-being, really the endogenous cannabinoids are involved with that, but in certain times of your life, you may not have a balance to that. So for whatever reason, we find that providing these cannabis products can help you maintain that well-being.
Interesting. So everybody's just kind of, needs to get their balance. Sometimes cannabis can be an effective part of that. But then we're also starting to learn that there may be some interactions between different drugs and cannabis.
Right.
Can you speak to any of that?
Yeah, so
because you have a PhD.
Actually, I have a PhD in toxicology.
Okay.
So that is sort of the study of poisons. And as we know, the dose makes the poison. So whether it's water or cannabis, anything can be a problem. And so one of the things we realize is some of the cannabinoids, and in particular cannabidiol or CBD, can interact in the body. So we know that it can interact with something called the P450 system that's in the liver. So the liver is the site in your body.
I tried the P450 system. I did, 40 days.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good for you.
Look at me, just as scrawny as ever.
But there's this whole system in the body that metabolizes different drugs that you take. So here's my pop quiz.
Okay.
When you metabolize something in the body, the reason you're doing that is to get it out of your body in a simpler way and excrete it. Okay, Janae.
Oh no.
What are the ways that we can excrete things from the body?
Mostly sweat for me.
Any other way?
Sweat it all. Sweat.
Nailed it.
Get it out of the body. Urinate. Bowel movements.
Hey, that's a classy way to say it. Janae, I'm so glad you took
she's
this
so
one.
classy.
That was my lifeline.
Right. And you can also exhale it. So those are the main routes. So how you get that to that point is you combine that, whatever that drug is or cannabis, with something that the P450 system helps you to metabolize it out of the body, and it helps you clear it. So all those systems in cannabis, when you smoke, you can exhale it, you can conjugate it to different things to get it out in your urine or your feces, and so that's how we metabolize things. So with things like CBD, we just have to be conscious that you can inhibit enzymes. So for example, you might have heard about grapefruit juice.
Absolutely.
Okay,
It's one of those
same kind of
things.
things with CBD.
What? What have you heard about grapefruit juice?
All kinds of cool stuff about grapefruit juice. So it has some drug interactions. It's also really good if you drink coffee. It'll extend the half-life of caffeine, I believe, so that your coffee goes further if you have grapefruit juice after.
Exactly. So it inhibits these P450 enzymes. Nicely done.
Give me a bell.
Jake just blew his own mind.
That wasn't it.
So when you do that with
Sure.
CBD, it's the same kind of thing as the grapefruit juice. You can extend the half-life of some drugs and increase the concentrations.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful with things like cardiac meds, for some seizure meds, same kind of thing. So it initially can be a problem, and one of the things, when you take a new medication, they often say, go get your blood level checked. Make sure that level is kind of stable. It's important to let your doctor know if you're using cannabis or CBD so that they can make sure they're monitoring that.
Oh my God, that is a new way of seeing the doctor. I've been lying about it for years.
I don't use weed, no.
Of course not. Just cigarettes.
I'm always very
That's
honest.
so much better. Just cigarettes.
Right. So when we talk about different delivery systems, because I think that's really important for people, especially when you talk about exhaling, well, it doesn't always have to be smoke, or there are people I've seen that are working on inhalers, for example.
Right.
What's next frontier looking at in terms of delivery methods?
Great question. So we're looking at alternative delivery systems. Nothing that we're working on is smoking, vaping, or edibles.
Okay.
We look at transmucosal delivery.
Wait. Isn't an inhaler just a fancy vape?
An inhaler is a lot, you could call it a fancy vape.
Yes.
Fancy vape if you want to, but it goes deep into the lungs. So
Okay.
it's sort of where it goes in the lungs. But we think we don't really want to go that way. One of the reasons that we don't work with vape is because we just aren't confident that it's safe with the things they cut the cannabis with.
Interesting.
And so we prefer to find an alternative delivery that is quicker and more reliable. So we're looking at a nasal spray.
Really?
Yeah. And that's sort of the first to market that we're bringing in the next month or two onto the market.
Wait, so does it smell like weed still?
It doesn't. It does not smell like weed, because what we do is we purify the cannabinoids. So one of the reasons it smells like weed, obviously, is the terpenes.
So are you stripping terpenes? So it's just
Yes.
cannabinoids?
It's cannabinoids.
Okay.
Right.
And so, we always talk about kind of the entourage effect and how, flavonoids, terpenes affect how, what type of high you have. Is that something that you're looking at down the line? Is that too variable and people respond to terpenes differently?
Right. So we haven't brought terpenes into this line at this point because I don't think it's well characterized what those terpenes are doing and how they're doing it and which terpenes. So we prefer to follow the science. So we know THC and CBD in combination are synergistic and work well together. So that's what is in our initial products in a proprietary formulation.
Okay.
So by the nasal administration, it does not smell like weed at all, and it's quite pleasant, as a matter of fact. Kind of has a little floral scent to it, and it's enjoyable, and it's a very heady type of high. So that's
Really?
yeah. It's a
Are you doing like your own trials on this? Not like I'm trying to get an invite over. I know what you're thinking out there. But so are you doing like kind of trials, or how is this
So
being
we
developed?
can't officially do clinical trials,
Sure.
but like most manufacturers in the state, we do some private events where we can sample products and see what individuals think about it and how they respond to it, what kind of effects they have with it.
What kind of smells they want? They're like sandalwood out. We hate sandalwood, but
I love sandalwood.
Floral
Right.
scent. Yeah. Exactly.
And then in addition to the nasal spray, we also have a sublingual line, and that is various flavors. We have a strawberry ginger flavor and a peppermint flavor. That one of the individuals in our lab is a sommelier, and he works a lot with different tastes and flavors, so he came up with those. So that's exciting for us.
And what's the consistency like there? Because I've tried ones that are more like viscous, more like tincture. I've had others that just quick dissolve.
Yep, so this is under the tongue. It's a spray, and it's a fine mist.
Ooh.
So it's
Like a Banaka kind of?
kind of like a
Then you
Banaka.
get-
It's a light spray, and it's not, some of those, you know, when you have a tincture, your mouth feels really full. It doesn't feel like that. It actually kind of dissolves into your lower mouth cavity, and you just kind of dissolves in there. So it doesn't feel heavy. And then that gets transported into your bloodstream from the mucosa.
And so when we're talking about this, obviously the focus is on medical benefits. When people are looking for edibles, I was just talking to somebody in Portland about how this guy tried all these edibles. He's like, I don't like the way some of them make me feel. I like drinks better than I like the gummies. What's the difference for people that maybe are coming into this and don't really understand, sublingual medications?
So one of the things that we like about sublingual versus something like an edible is the rapidity of action. So when you take a sublingual, you're going to get an effect within 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Whereas when you take an edible, it's totally variable because what did you eat? What did you drink? All those things play into how you digest it. And was your meal fatty or not fatty? So that can really influence the edible effect. And back to the metabolism. Your individual metabolism can impact that. So that's one of the reasons we've stayed away from the edible products and really tried to focus on things that we can deliver precisely and quickly to patients.
Interesting. Now, one of my I love asking anybody that makes a non-flower product, does it matter, in your opinion, if things are strain specific when you're talking about edibles, sublinguals, things like that?
So I will say we also have a topical line, and we're working on some strain-specific oils for that because we wanted to get a specific profile. So that is a whole plant extract that does have a terpene profile, and we kind of wanted to maintain that because we know the terpenes are involved with permeation enhancement. And that's really important for topicals.
Sure.
So we included that in the formulation, and we think that's a driver for that benefit.
Are there specific terpenes that you find help with that permeation?
Yeah, beta-carotene is one of the important ones that we know of.
And it's spicy. I like
Exactly, yeah, and it also has that kind of scent to it, and it's nice to the product. But for some of the other products, like I said, we don't include the terpenes because we just don't see the benefit for what we're trying to achieve.
Because I always talk to people, I'm like, edibles, if it's just the cannabinoids, it really doesn't matter which plant you pulled them from.
Exactly. It's just trying to get to the THC in that way. And we use hybrids for our strains for the most part. We've stayed out of the Indica versus Sativa battle right now onto what to do until that's sorted out. Because, a lot of the data, and there's a great researcher up at CU working on this, things that are classified as Indica are not indica. So they're working on the genetics of that now to truly understand better things that have been called an indica, perhaps are a sativa. So when that's sorted out, we'll have a better handle on what we want to do.
Interesting. If there's one cannabinoid that people aren't talking about, but you think they will be in a year, which one is it?
Well, I don't know how much you guys talk about THCA, but we've been talking about that lately, that we think that's really interesting. There's some new data coming out that it looks really beneficial as an anti-inflammatory, particularly in things like inflammatory bowel disease and Crohn's. So we're looking at that with some interest.
Awesome. All right, are you ready for the pot quiz?
Oh, I'm so nervous. It was a great conversation. I had nothing to chime in with because I was just like, I'm learning, absorbing. And you guys are going back and forth, saying words I've never heard before. And I'm just absorbing them. That was great. I'm going to watch this episode.
Okay.
You just did. All right, awesome. Let's do pot or not.
I'm nervous. Okay.
Okay, so this is the way it works. I'm going to give you a name. You're going to tell me if it's pot or if it's not. And again, don't forget, you can play at home. Just tweet or do wherever you're on social media, hashtag pot or not. All right, let's do it, Dot. Number 1, pot or not, purple Urkel.
Pot.
That's definitely pot. 1 point.
I'm feeling good already.
We started with an easy one. They just
Thank
get
you.
a lot more difficult.
Great.
Nope.
Okay. Thanks, Jake.
All right, number 2, Air Jordan OG. Is it pot or not?
Pot.
That is pot.
That is fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they're going to be getting a cease or desist pretty soon. I don't
right?
think that.
It should be trademarked.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
geez.
Good as gold in California. Only place you can get it for now.
Oh.
All right. Number 3, Tunisian chimney goblin.
Not.
It's not.
I don't know the answer, but that one.
Tunisian chimney goblin comes to us via Twitter user at Plot Twist, I'm Jose. Plot Twist, I'm Jose. Congratulations, you're getting a Cannabist shirt or something. I think you're in Denver. Maybe I could just give you some pot. All right, you're 3 for 3.
Okay.
Number 4, outgoing panda.
No.
It is not. That was
Outgoing.
As
how would
opposed
you
to a
be?
shy panda. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of their natural state, right? If you're an outgoing panda, it's probably a sativa. That was the one that we made up back in the day.
Yeah,
'cause
that
we
right.
didn't know what the weed was. All right, 4 for 4. Number 5, Jilly Bean.
Yes.
That is 5 for 5. She's on a heater, ladies and
right.
gentlemen. It's one of my favorite Space Queen crosses. All right. Number 6, Black Larry Bird.
Yes.
It is. The confidence.
You don't know what we do in the lab.
It's bred by Mr. Max Snacks. I just realized we have,
Have you had that?
weird basketball theme going. Not yet, but I want
Sounds
to try
like
some
fun.
Black Larry Bird. It's also funny to just imagine.
Black
'cause
Larry
he's
Bird.
the whitest dude ever.
Yeah.
The man
What is
is clear. All right, number 7, WNED. It looks like somebody misspelled weed.
I know. I'm going to say yes.
It is not.
Okay.
All
I have no
right.
idea on that one.
That's actually the station that is suing LeVar Burton for using his signature catchphrase from Reading Rainbow on his podcast.
Okay.
There are some real haters over there. All right, you still have 6 points. You have a chance to take our all-time high
Oh,
score
man.
still.
The pressure. The
All right,
pressure.
number 8, chocolate tonic.
Yes.
It is. It also sounds like the worst drink ever. Chocolate Kush crossed with Cannatonic, big CBD strain.
Okay.
All right. You have what, tied? No. This is to tie our all-time high score. Number 9, Brick and Morty.
No.
It is not. Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, man.
the excitement is palpable. These palms are sweaty. These weak mom spaghetti. This could be it
Oh, man.
for the all-time high score. Number 10, Bowl. Is it pot or is it not?
B-O-W-L.
B-O-L. Bowl.
Yes.
It is not. I'm so sorry. That is Manute Bull's son. Congratulations. You have tied our all-time high score, Dot. Give it up for her, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right. Dot, where can people find New Frontier online, or Next Frontier, excuse me, online and
Yep.
find all kinds of good stuff about
Next Frontier Bio. We
Yep.
have a website, and we're going to be in the dispensaries as Vera Wellness in about a month.
you? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Janae, what do you have going on?
Monday, August 14th, join Pussy Bros and headliner Kenny DeForest at Rack House Brewery. That's my regular monthly show. Next weekend, I'll be featuring for James Davis at the Attic in Bloomington, Indiana.
Woo.
And please get your tickets for High Plains Comedy Festival. They'll be here in Denver, August 24th through 26th. I get the privilege of being on the finale show at Paramount Theater with headliner TJ Miller.
TJ Miller, he loves Denver. That's going to be an amazing show. Congratulations.
Thanks.
For me, I'm going to be at the Danquet, which is just a weed dinner. So if you're going to be at the Danquet, I'll be getting high with you. And thanks to everybody at the Indo Expo for making me feel right at home when I was in Portland this weekend. It was a blast. Thanks again to Dot Colagiovanni for joining from Next Frontier for joining us today. And thanks to you for tuning in. Send us your Pod or Not suggestions on Twitter and Facebook with the hashtag Pod or Not. And don't forget to leave us reviews wherever you find the show, like YouTube, where all-star John Phantom wrote, "Thumbs up, you guys, to every video I watch. Keep it up." Thanks, John. You
Thanks,
keep it up,
John.
too. For Janae Burris, producer Vince, and the whole Cannabis Show crew, I'm Jake Brown. We'll see you next week.
Say it again. Ain't afraid to get in. I be going for the jackpot with aces in my hand. I'm raw.